When you look at a massive construction project, a skyscraper or a bridge, you sort of think it's finished when the last bolt is tightened.
Right. Visually, it looks done. The cranes are gone, the scaffolding's down.
Exactly. It looks just like the pictures. But in the eyes of the contract, that building, it doesn't really exist yet.
Not as a working asset, no. At that point, it's really just a very expensive, very organized pile of materials.
A pile that might not do what it's supposed to do.
Precisely. It's the difference between a car that looks fast and one that actually starts.
And that gap, between looks done and is done, that's where fortunes are made or lost. And today, we're deep diving right into that gap.
We are.
We're looking at the FIDI Red Book 2017, and specifically just one part. Clause 9, tests on completion.
And this is one of the most critical sections of the entire contract. Clause 9 is the gateway. Yeah. It's the final exam the contractor has to pass to prove the work, works.
And reading through it, what really struck me is that it's not just engineering. It's not just flick a switch and see if the lights come on.
Oh, not at all.
It's this incredibly rigorous, legally bound procedure with strict timelines, paperwork, and some really interesting ideas about deemed acceptance.
Deemed is the key word there. FIDI 2017 is full of these mechanisms where, if you don't say no in time, the contract basically assumes you said yes.
Which can be a trap.
It can be. But it's designed to keep the project moving forward.
So our mission today is to decode this final exam. We're going to look at the homework you have to do before you can even start. We'll break down the scheduling, what happens if someone ghosts the test.
Let's happen.
And then the nuclear options. What happens if it all just fails?
It's the moment of truth. Let's get into it.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Clause 9.1. You can't just show up on a Tuesday morning with a clipboard, kid.
No, absolutely not. That would be total chaos.
Yeah.
Clause 9.1 sets up these conditions precedent, things you must do first.
And it specifically links back to Clause 4.4 about documentation.
Yes, it points to as-built records and the operation and maintenance manuals, the O&M manuals.
And this is it's pure commercial protection for the employer, isn't it?
Completely. Think about it. The contractor knows how everything works because they built it. But once they're gone, the employer needs the instruction manual.
It's like buying a fighter jet, but they forgot to give you the pilot's handbook.
Exactly. So FIDI says, don't bother proving the machine works if you haven't given me the instructions on how to use it.
So no manuals, no test.
The engineer can just refuse to let it start. Simple as that.
Okay, so let's say we're organized, we've got our manuals in, now we need to actually schedule this thing. And FIDI has a very specific lead time.
It does. And this is where the timeline often surprises people. The contractor has to submit a detailed test program 42 days in advance.
42 days, that's a month and a half. That feels like a lifetime in project terms. Why so long?
Well, you have to remember the scale. We're not testing a toaster here. We might be testing the fire suppression system for an entire airport. You need to bring in third-party inspectors, maybe specialized equipment. You might need to shut down parts of the site. The program isn't just a calendar invite.
It's a whole method statement.
It's a logistical ballet. And you need 6 weeks to organize that.
Okay, so the contractor submits this 42-day plan. The ball is now in the engineer's court.
And this is where we see that silence is consent idea pop up for the first time.
The engineer has 14 days to review it.
Yes, 14 days. And review is a defined term. They check for compliance, safety, things like that. If there's a problem, they have to issue a notice.
But, and this is the part I love, what if they just sit on it? They're busy, they go on holiday, and the 14 days just tick by.
Then the contract says the engineer is deemed to have given a notice of no objection.
Deemed no objection. It's like the contract says, we'll just pretend you said yes because you were too slow to say no.
It's a risk management tool. It stops a lazy or difficult engineer from holding up the entire project just by doing nothing. It puts the burden on them to be proactive.
So the plan is approved, one way or another. Now we move into what I was thinking of as the scheduling dance.
Good way to put it. Because the program is the how, not the when.
Right. So the contractor has to send another notice, a 21-day notice.
Correct. Not less than 21 days before the date after which they'll be ready to test.
The wording is so specific. So they're saying, we'll be ready to go anytime from November 1st onwards.
Exactly. And then the engineer has a 14-day window after that date to actually start the tests. It gives them some flexibility to coordinate.
Okay, so the tests run. Then what?
The burden flicks back to the contractor. They have to compile all the data and submit a certified report of the results.
And I'm guessing the engineer has to review that report as well.
They do. And it's the same 14-day rule.
Sure.
If they don't object to the results within 14 days,
It's deemed accepted.
it creates this rhythm, you see. Submit, wait 14 days, proceed. You have to be on top of those deadlines.
You could accidentally accept a failed test just by missing an email.
It's a real danger. But there's one more nuance in 9.1 we should touch on. What if the employer starts using the building before the official tests?
Right, I was thinking about that. Say you're building a warehouse and the owner is already moving stock in on one side while you're trying to test the floor on the other.
Or running machinery that causes vibrations. The contract recognizes that's not fair. It says the engineer shall make allowances for the effect of any use of the works by the employer.
So it's like a handicap system.
Precisely. You can't fail the contractor for wear and tear that the owner caused by jumping the gun.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the ideal path. But let's talk about the darker timeline. Clause 9.2, delayed tests.
Ah, yes. The ghosting clause.
Why would a contractor ghost their own final exam? Don't they want to get paid and go home?
Usually it's because they know something's wrong. They know they're going to fail.
Ah.
Maybe the cooling system isn't hitting the right temperature, so they delay. Oh, the weather's bad, the equipment isn't ready. They're just trying to push off the inevitable.
So clause 9.2 is the mechanism to break that deadlock.
It is. If the tests are unduly delayed, the engineer can issue a formal notice. It's an ultimatum, basically. You must test within 21 days.
And the contractor has to respond to that.
They have to pick a day within that window and give at least 7 days notice.
But here's the crazy part. What if they just ignore it? They call the bluff.
Then we get into what's called the self-help remedy. Subclause 9.2 lets the employer's own team go ahead and run the test themselves.
Without the contractor even being there.
Without them. And this is where we get to the deemed presence rule. It's one of the most interesting legal fictions in the whole book.
Okay, walk us through that.
The contract says that if the employer does the tests unilaterally, the tests shall be deemed to have been carried out in the presence of the contractor.
Wow. So the contractor could be in their office 100 miles away, but legally, contractually, they're standing right there on site watching.
Nodding along, yes. It's a legal fiction. And the consequence is huge. Because you were deemed to be there, you can't later argue about the results.
You can't say you used the wrong equipment or you didn't follow the procedure.
Exactly. You had your chance to be there and object. You waived that right. So these results are now accepted as absolute truth.
That is brutal.
It is, but it's necessary. And on top of that, the contractor has to pay the employer's cost for running the test. It turns their passivity into a very expensive liability.
Okay, so one way or another, the tests get run and the results are in, and they're not good. A big red fail.
Right. Now we're in clause 9.3 and 9.4, failure and the nuclear options.
Step 1 seems pretty straightforward. Clause 9.3 is retesting.
Yes, it's your second chance. It triggers clause 7.5 on defects. The engineer says this failed. The contractor has to fix it at their own cost, and then you repeat the whole test.
A do-over. But what if it fails the do-over? Now we're at clause 9.4, and the engineer has a menu of choices.
For distinct options, and they get progressively more serious.
Okay, let's go through them. Option A is, just do it again.
Order another repetition. This is for when you think you're really close, maybe just one more tweak will get it done.
But if patience is run out, we get to option B, reject the works. That sounds bad.
It's the nuclear option. But there's a very high legal bar. It only applies if the failure deprives the employer of substantially the whole benefit of the works.
So we're not talking about a drafty window.
No, we're talking about a power plant that can't generate power, a bridge that can't carry weight, something fundamental.
And if that happens?
The employer can terminate the contract, get all their money back, plus financing costs. It's an existential crisis for the contractor. It can put them out of business.
Wow. Okay, so that's the big one. What's option C?
Option C is the surgical strike. Reject this section. So say you built an office block in a separate car park. The office is fine, but the car park is structurally unsound. The engineer can accept the office, but reject the car park.
So it contains the damage.
Exactly. It's still a massive financial hit, but it's not a total loss.
Which brings us to option D. And honestly, reading this feels like the one that gets used most in the real world.
It's the pragmatic option. Option D is to issue a taking over certificate despite the failure.
So the project failed the test, but the engineer just accepts it anyway. Why would they do that?
Commercial reality. Maybe the aircon is only 90% as efficient as specified. It's not perfect, but the employer has tenants moving in next Monday. They can't afford a 6-month delay for a complete rebuild.
So they just take the flawed building, but the contractor doesn't get away with it, right?
Oh no, the clause says the contract price must be reduced to reflect the reduced value of what they received.
It's the scratch and dent discount.
That's a perfect analogy. I'll take it, but you're knocking $100,000 off the price. It allows both parties to move on without spending the next 5 years in court.
It's fascinating that FIDIC builds that compromise right into the contract. It seems to prefer a flawed success over a perfect failure.
That's a great way to put it. FIDIC is a project management tool. It anticipates imperfection and gives you a structured path to deal with it.
So stepping back for a second, we've gone through the 42-day plan, the deemed approvals, the ghosting scenario. What's the big takeaway from Clause 9 as a whole?
I think it's that Clause 9 turns quality, which can be a subjective idea, into a very objective process. It doesn't matter if you think the building is good. You have to prove it is by following this exact documented sequence.
The process is as important as the final product.
More so,
Yeah.
in some ways. A technically perfect building with the wrong paperwork is, under this contract, an unfinished building.
And it brings me back to that one idea, that deemed presence in 9.2. That's the thought I really want to leave our listeners with.
It's a very modern problem, isn't it? The idea of participation.
It really is. We live in this world where we feel like we have to be on every call and every meeting to have a say. But FIDI completely flips that.
It does.
It says if you refuse to show up, the system will just create a ghost of you. And that ghost will stand there and agree to everything.
The ultimate penalty for being passive.
You can legally be somewhere you physically are not, and that ghost version of you can sign away your rights. It's a powerful reminder that in these kinds of contracts, showing up isn't just a courtesy. It's your main line of defense.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that wraps up our...
If you're interested in the templates, please visit our shop. The link is in the description.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see next time.